Did Holly have a restraining order against Romeca? Did Romeca have one against Carlos? There seems to be a lot of talk about who had paperwork and where, but the one prevalent thing I'm seeing is the confusion on the responsibility of what a restraining order means and who has to stay away from who. There's comments all through. I'm going to tag the video so y'all can see. I spoke to an eyewitness, and one of the things that was prevalent in the comments, aside from questioning the validity of the eyewitness and what they were saying and what they claimed they saw, was whose fault it was. And I'm just going to read, I'm reading the comments that are in the YouTube video. Y'all can go see for yourself. The comment says, the facts is in this case is why was Miss Johnson and Carlos in the same vicinity as Romeca when there is a restraining order? The issue is that she was provoked. Keep that word in mind. Once again, with his drama, flaunting his other woman. My father taught me that if you have more power, then you walk away. I like that. I like that statement. Why have a gun? Because are you contemplating killing? Woman to woman, let's talk this out. Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. No woman wants to be the other woman. Men love this drama. We all can't agree on that. And they always have a stupid one fighting to feed his sick ego. All right. Why was Miss Johnson Holly in the vicinity? Reports show, people claim, and again, y'all, all this stuff is alleged because I wasn't there, you weren't there, none of us were there. We're speculating, and this case has gotten emotional. It's gotten dangerous. It's beyond he say, she say. And I had to step away because I was covering the Diddy case last week. I don't know if y'all saw that video. I was in the courtroom like a few seats away from Diddy. It was all dramatic. I talked about it. I'll tag that video below if you want to see it. But I'm back here focusing on what justice is looking like in this case. But I had to take it a step back and seeing, why do some of you think that if you have let's say you have a restraining order against me, okay? Hey, I want Naja to stay away from me in some sort of way. You've been able to go to the court of law and prove, hey, Naja is harassing me. She's bothering me. She's making threats to my family. She's calling my grandmother. Like, I've seen all of these accusations. I've seen the comment sections of other posts, just like you guys have, especially, I'm not going to say his name, but his name starts with a Q. He's been making some noise in this case, and putting some facts, some questionable, some accurate. Again, none of us really know, right? But one thing I'm seeing is there was harassment that was able to be documented on one end. Now, from what I understand, Romeca had the Holly had the restraining order, or was able to get this order of protection. And it's all semantics in the game of court. Yeah, I wanted to make this video so bad. You see, I didn't even have a chance to put on my hair and makeup. I just was like, let's just talk about this because I want to veer this conversation in a right direction. And some of us have gotten so far left and so unintentionally or maybe intentionally emotional about this issue. But if we're going to be emotional about something, I want us to make sure that we're harping on the right fact. You have a restraining order against me. Let's just say that, hypothetically speaking. If you are over here talking to your baby daddy or your cousin or your sister, and I see you, it is my obligation as the person that has been ordered to stay away from you. It's my obligation to stay away. Okay, so I wanted to come on here and show you guys. I went to look up Illinois state, but if you're interested in any other states' laws on stalking, harassment, all of the good stuff, here it is. So here's a civil liability on the stalking and no contact order for the state of Illinois. So you see all this. I went and copied and pasted all of this into ChatGPT because I wanted to know specifically what is the responsibility of the victim. So you can see I just literally went and copy and pasted the entire page. Whole page, here we go. I'm scrolling, still scrolling. It's a lot. And ChatGPT is kind of odd sometimes. So if you have any doubts on the validity, then I highly suggest that you just go and read everything yourself, especially if you're experienced in law. So here it says, under the Illinois Stalking No Contact Act, the victim, called the petitioner, does not have a legal duty to stay away from the respondent. This order binds only the respondent, not the petitioner. It means I put a restraining order on you. You are the respondent. You're the one that bears all of the responsibility. It might suck. It might not feel like it's fair. And you could even be being targeted. Section 85 explicitly prohibits mutual orders, meaning one cannot impose reciprocal restrictions. Each person must file separately if they both seek protection. Sorry. So what that means, like a mutual order or mutual injunction, means everybody's protected. The judge can be like, you just stay away from each other. You're both liable. You both have responsibility. Nope. If you want one against me, that means you have to file your own. The petitioner, the person that filed the order, can move freely and is not restricted from being in public places or near the respondent unless the court orders otherwise. So, in summary, the victim's role is to avoid initiating contacts or provocation. There's that word, provoke again, or provocation that might undermine the order. But there is no requirement for the victim to stay away. Only the respondent has enforceable obligations. And again, this is just one of the 4 different types of orders in the state of Illinois. I showed you what the other 4 were. So this is just, I'm only going to go through one, but if you want to go and look at the state law, then I definitely suggest you go over to that page to see what the relegations and rules are for each one. But this one that I picked out, just randomly picked out this one, y'all. So if you want to go look at the other one, I would love to hear what the other ones say. I don't have time to go and look at all 3 of the other ones. But yeah, provocation. The victim's role is to avoid initiating contact or provocation. If I approach you, I am violating that order. Now, some say, and it's at this point, it's probably knowledge that Romeca did not go to the last court hearing. She didn't go to the last court hearing, right? So what if she did not know that she had been restrained? What if she had absolutely no knowledge? What if Carlos had not told her? What if she was not alerted by the courts? What if she was never served papers? I remember one time I was driving home from college, driving to the town. I was driving home to Tennessee. I went to school in Tennessee. Driving home, I got pulled over. Okay, fine, whatever. Busted tail light. Oh, I didn't have my lights on. Something silly. And they're like, oh, hey, man, we need you to step out of the car. I'm like, because I didn't have my lights on? And they're like, no, actually, your driver's license is suspended. I'm like, wait, I didn't know that. I'm a college student. If you sent me mail, it probably went to my parents' house. I don't live with them, and they're like, hey, the burden of ignorance still falls on me as the person that was driving with a suspended license, whether I knew it or not. Luckily, I had a friend in the car. They didn't take me to jail. Luckily, I had a friend in the car. They let the friend drive the car. I was not allowed to drive the car away in the presence of the police officers. They did not care that I didn't know. So the fact that Romeca may hate, some claim that she may not have known that there was an order, a stay away order or keep away or stay in this vicinity. Unfortunately, in the court of law, that doesn't hold up. If you were able to get a default judgment against somebody, that means you still owe, whether you showed up, whether you were sick, unless you went to the court and took care of your paperwork and say, hey, I want to contest this. I wasn't aware. I had to work. I was in the hospital. I moved and I didn't get the mail. The fault still lies on the person, right? That fault for me not knowing about that suspended license, that was ultimately on me. I had to just sit with the responsibility. And going forward, I surely made sure that my mail was coming to me or something like that. So that's one point that I want to just keep that in mind. You might not like the way that sounded, but that is the fact. If you yourself have a default judgment against you, somebody's trying to take you to court and you don't show up for court because you didn't get the letters, you were sick, whatever the reason, that person wins by default. They win by default. They got a default judgment. So let's just say baseline, this was a default judgment. The person that filed the order, let's say Holly filed the order, she can put it in the newspaper. Like there's things that you can do to publicly make this known that like, hey, I've done my due diligence to let you know that this order is in place. Now it's on you to abide by it. So if I am, let's talk about this restraining order, this hypothetical restraining order that you have against me. If I am restrained from coming near you, it is your responsibility to stay away from me. Now, this is how messed up. This is how the gray area of restraining orders can get. A person could be at the grocery store. Let's just use their names. Romeca could have been at the grocery store, minding her own business, doing her grocery shopping. She's getting the stuff that she needs. Holly and Carlos walk in. Now, these two people may or may not have known they were there. Let's just say everyone's oblivious to everyone's existence in this same grocery store. Don't y'all know whose responsibility is it to leave? Whose responsibility is it to leave? It is the person who is named in the order. You are restrained from being near me. Even if you're already there and you see me there, I could claim, oh my God, she followed us to the grocery store. Now we would have another day in court because it looks like you have violated. I'm not talking about what actually happened. I'm talking about the way it looks. This is how much of the responsibility is placed on the person who is named in the order. Let's just say this hypothetical restraining order you have against me. I'm over here chilling at the side. If you see me, you pass by me, you better keep going. Because if I see you pass me and I want that day to call the cops and say, she drove past me to intimidate me, I could do it. And it might stand up in court because I can get you for as many violations as I want to. We have to have an understanding on whose responsibility it is to stay away. And again, I like the comment that this person made. I'm not harping on this person because their sentiments mirror a lot of sentiments that I've seen in the comment section. It says the issue is she was provoked. Once again, with Carlos's drama flaunting his other woman. Let's talk about provocation. You have provoked me. That means you have elicited an emotional response from me. You've provoked me into some sort of action. Whose fault is it for the provocation? Now, if I'm provoking you by existing over here, flaunting and kissing your ex and saying things to you, does that give you the right to come near me? You very well could come near me and be like, shut up and sit down. I don't like you. You could do all of those things. If I have a restraining order against you, an order of protection against you, I am well within my right to call and say, hey, this person has violated this order, right? I am very much well within my right. Let's talk. Provocation means there's some sort of elicited response. Whose fault is that for being provoked? Because before we get to the point of being provoked, like this is where I like to talk about controlling our impulses. I could be as mad as you, I could be so upset with you. But if I am not able to control my impulse to act on my emotions, whose fault is that? If you've gotten me out of character, have I allowed you to get me out of character? Or do you deserve this thing that I'm going to do? This is kind of where our mind sits. Like this is when I'm looking at the comments, this is kind of where I get to tell people that have had different levels of experiences. Some people perceive disrespect as something they're going to die for. I'm going to die for my respect. T.I. said it in one of his songs. I don't know what you're going to do for your respect, but I'm going to die for mine. I'm an older millennial. I know T.I. lyrics. But I was like, damn, dog. Like, I don't want to die. At this point in the game, I will run away full speed from a fight. I will run away. You try to fight, I'm going to run away. Let me tell you why. I have been witness to a person that did not run away from a fight. They didn't run. They stood there and they could fight. This was one of the not one hit a quitter, what we used to call her. Somebody got her on the right part of her face on the wrong day. She went down, hit her head on the concrete. Her head opened up. She lost her life that day. Never seen her lose a fight, but she lost her life in that one day. I know I've single-handedly witnessed what can happen from a physical confrontation. So, and at a certain point, like if you live to be a certain age and you a street fighter, consider yourself lucky, but the smart ones know when to walk away. The smart ones know like it's important for me to live just to get home another day. If that's the type of lifestyle that you're into. Provocation does not warrant always a physical confrontation. You have provoked me. Sometimes I need to go sit in my car and not let my ego win. When I see comments like this, like, oh, it's her fault. Holly should not have been there. If Holly was in the street kissing that man and slobbering him down and like, I got your man, that would have been a jerk thing to do. That's a whole thing to do. That's nasty, catty behavior. If Holly is provoking the person that has a restraining order, that she has a restraining order against, and the person falls into that trap, in the courts, the judge is not going to say, oh, Holly was taunting you. Oh, Holly was in an area that she rightfully could have been in. Should she have been there? That's subjective. Depending on your experiences, your perception, how you handle your own emotions, anger, and ego, that's on you. Should she have been there? That's on you. They shared a man in common. Well, they shared the same child's father. So there's going to be some instances where they don't have a choice but to be in the same vicinity. This is where we're talking about, can we control ourselves and control our emotions enough to say, there's an order of paper. There's a piece of paper that says I can't go near this person. Now, I was looking at some statistics on how many restraining orders are issued, how many are violated. In most of the cases, the people in domestic violence situations are given orders of protection. Not a large majority, but an overwhelming, uncomfortable majority of these people are gone on to be violated and unalived by the person with this paperwork. So an order of protection is just a piece of paper. If we're at the point to where I have to get the law involved and tell them to tell you to stay away from me, that kind of tells me you don't care. You don't really care about the law. So, there's that right there. And I want you to keep in mind, and I'm going to have to reiterate many, many times over, is I'm continuously seeing the comments, and there seems to be a gross misunderstanding about whose responsibility it is in the restraining order. I'm going to repeat this because I know people are still going to feel angered, feel emotional, feel triggered by what I'm saying. That's okay. I don't mean to come on here and trigger you in a negative way. But what I want to do is make sure that we keep the conversation centered on the fact. If I am restrained from staying away from you and a judge has ordered that, whether it's by a default judgment, whether you knew it or not, whether I knew it or not, because I'm putting myself in the hot seat here. As an example, it is my responsibility to make sure I stay away from you and I get myself the resources, whatever, maybe that's counseling, maybe that's friends, maybe I can sit and say, I'm just going to walk away. You walk into the same party that I'm at. You have a restraining order against me. And if you walk in that party, guess who has to leave? I have to leave, y'all. You have a restraining order against me. We're at the grocery store. I gotta go. Now, in some particular orders, the judge will say there's areas that we just simply can't avoid. And a lot of times those will be custodial exchange locations. Those will be the judge will name that. Your order will say, because there's some instances where we have to be within 500 feet of each other. And that's in the majority of cases. Sometimes it's unavoidable, because what about when people share, a mother and father share a child together and they have to do a pickup drop off. They have to do a custody exchange. Sometimes it's going to be in your order that there are mutual grounds. Like you have a school event, your son has a soccer game, daughter has ballet, or son has ballet because it's 2025 and it's all good. Everybody can take dance. Then there's going to be some things in there. At this point, I haven't seen, we've seen some orders and some claims of orders, but I've seen the same paperwork that you have. Okay, so I just wanted to make that very, very, very clear. I am not placing blame on a person that is deceased. I am also, and this is where the lack of bias or the inability for me to see bias, because the bias comes based on, if there is a bias here, it comes based on how the law is stated, how the law is spelled out. The law says, I got to stay away from you. So if I see you over there and I'm pissed off because I see you, should I come there? If I violate that, I am the one that has violated. I don't really know how much more clear this can be stated. Anything after that just comes to a matter of your own perspective or your own opinion. She should have stepped away. Absolutely. She shouldn't have been there. She shouldn't have messed with the dude. Neither one of these girls should have met. We're going to get into semantics and shoulda, woulda, couldas, and we're going to all play Monday morning quarterback. Absolutely. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. This would have none of us would have wanted what we witnessed to happen. And what we're still talking about today is it's over a month later. We're still talking about this because it's so jarring. And the sad part about it is there are so many other cases like this. If you file a restraining order against a person you are protected under the law. If you show up where they are and you are 800 feet away from them, and the order says you are ordered to stay 500 feet away, stay 500. You have to stay 500 feet away. Well, wait, you don't have to, but should you not, they can call the police and say, hey, this person's violated the order. They can have you behind arrested on the spot, or you're going to have a court date on Monday for violating. And then it's on the judge or the county to decide what they want to do with you for violating you. I can tell you this, you have consistent violations, because a lot of y'all in these comments are talking about the restraining orders that you have on somebody. A lot of y'all know because you have them. I'm reading the comments. You go and read the comments. Y'all just go read the comment section. I can overwhelmingly see that there is a common thought, a common thread that if she's so scared, I saw this. Oh, I see this too a lot. If Holly was so scared, why was she over there? Well, in the police report, we can see where they all were. We can see where they start. Now we know, and based on internet speculation, allegedly, we know the key points where, let's say player A was Carlos, player B was Holly, player C was Romeca. We know the spots that they all started from and how they ended up in the same area. At this point, we do know that. I don't even have to repeat that. And you've seen it from other sources. So we know where they all started from. So the fact that we know where they all originated and how they all got in the same space, where player A was, where player B was, and where player C came from, we know that at this point. We cannot argue that. So if player A and player B were here stationary, wherever they were doing what they were doing, they were here stationary. And let's just say player C was way over there, even within 300 feet. If player C, if within 300 feet, Holly could have seen Romeca and be like, oh, I'm going to call. If Romeca would have kept driving, and Holly called on her to say she violated, that would have been another court date. I've seen something though. It says, well, if Holly was so afraid of her, why was she at the son's school? That's been dispelled. We know where they were and we know where they were not. And when you get a restraining order against a person, it does mean you have been harassing me. You have been threatening me. You have been violating me in my space. I have been able to somehow prove, or I have gotten a default judgment. I've submitted paperwork to the courts. My paperwork, y'all. This comes down to paperwork. And I'm going to tell y'all what I think is going to happen with this, because there's 4 or 5 cases. Ever since I started looking at this case, at this point, I'm going to just go ahead and tell y'all, right? There's a video I have coming out tomorrow. Did y'all see the pro-lifer that got punched in the face by a person that she was interviewing? That's a case that I'm following. There's a girl that flew from New York to Florida to go and run over her ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend. So I'm looking at all of these cases, and I'm looking at all of these instances that have led to somebody being severely hurt or have their physical person or even their mental health violated. Because yes, you don't ever have had to met a person to get an order of protection against them. You can just be calling them, leaving stuff on their social media, harassing them, doxing them, having your family members to go after them. You can still do all that. And a person can say, and if the person can prove that, they can have an order of protection against you. Does that mean that they can pow you? I'm using TikTok talk. Why am I doing that? That don't mean that. But what that does mean is now, should it come to that, the investigation gets way more complex, because this is not a cut and dry case. They have to look through mounds of proof from both sides to see what level of harassment was it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the girl was afraid of her. If I say, hey, I'm so afraid of you, I need you to just stay away from me when you see me in the street, because you told me it was going to be on site. I don't want to fight you though. I'm not a fighter. I don't want to fight you. Can you just stay away from me? But then if you've proven that you are not willing to do that, from us not liking each other, from us being embattled or entangled in this triangle situation, and then you're proving that I do get to be afraid, right? I can say, oh my God, I'm scared of her. But then if I'm with my partner, the law constitutes, it says, I still need you to stay away from me. That doesn't mean I have to be fearful that I can't go to the grocery store or be near my partner's house where you might drive by. If you have an order of protection against somebody, that means your head is on swivel. Especially and I'm not talking about these frivolous ones where you're just filing it to get back at somebody or to make somebody lose their job because you know the law and you know all the tricks of the law to make a person's life hard. I'm talking about situations where there is a chance that something bad might happen to someone. And I am putting you on notice legally that I need you to stay away from me. What a lot of assailants do, that when an ultimate crime is committed in these cases, they will wait out that 30-day order of protection. They will wait out that 1 year, 365-day order of protection. And on the 366th day, they will resume. And these are the obsessive cases. We are going to be talking about some of these ultimately obsessive cases where a person had become fixated. Some of these cases, however, are a result of an individual or a group of individuals being unable to control their emotions. They had no resources on how to get these impulses to go and attack or to pull a weapon or to destroy personal property or make a million phone calls or send a text message or destroy, some of the things that we've seen people do in these situations, not even just this particular case, but when these things are not an option for people in these scenarios, and we see things like this happen when there's a lack of resources. We have mental health issues coming into play. I've seen a lot of people use the N-word. Oh, the guy was a narcissist. He was a narcissist. I don't know his diagnosis. He ain't never sat on my couch. I don't know that. But, we have personality disorders here. We have anger issues. Clearly, we have that into play. And we could very well have some mental illness here. In this particular case, y'all, let me tell y'all what's happened, because I'm looking at these other cases, right? And I will be making videos. Hopefully, I can just get to making them all. That Diddy case took me out. Y'all, that case took me out. It took me out, y'all, because I have a video on how everything went and how I ended up in the courtroom. I was not expecting to be in the courtroom that day. But it was crazy. I made us kids. There was a scuffle in the cafeteria. It was dramatic. It was as dramatic as you've seen it on the news. It was a drama-filled day. Anyway, so all these cases that I'm showing, there's like a similar thread and a similar tone. And this one here, this case, and I'm calling it a case, but these are people's real lives, which is like, we're getting so emotional. Like, we knew these people because they were ours too. No matter what side of the fence you sit on, whether you think Romeca was wrong, you think Holly was wrong, you think Carlos was wrong, you think those two should go to jail, you think they should be free. Like, no matter what side of the fence you sit on, we're all able to see something familiar in these individuals, right? This is why you're so passionate. This is why you block and unfollow people and you're cussing each other out in the comments. This is why you like one content creator over the other. This is why you cannot hear an opinion that differs from that thing that you already thought. This is why. Because these cases make us feel something. This instance in watching, it's just like, I saw the other angle just like you all saw it. Watching that other angle only incited more emotion in me, I'm sure it did you. For some of us, it confirmed what we already knew. For some of us, it made us say, oh, wait a minute. I thought this. There's going to be other angles to come out. There's already other angles that the CPD has from above. They have an eagle eye, God's eye view. They already have that. For the life of me, well, I can understand why it's not being released, because there's such an in-depth investigation happened. Let me just tell y'all the trend that I noticed in these cases. Last week, I posted a video about a lady that was stabbed 9 times, a mother of 2 in Texas. She was stabbed 9 times by her husband's new girlfriend. That lady was supposed to go sign her divorce papers that next day. The next day. That case is starting up, and I went to do the research. Their trial is starting up in this is October and December. So that's a case that I'm following, but there's some cases that are already closed and done, right? The trend that I notice is if they have a hard time proving, like, oh, it wasn't a cut and dry case. Like in this case, when the woman was stabbed 9 times, we know who the assailant was. Now it's just a matter of what are you going to be charged with? How long you going to jail? There's other cases that are kind of like this one where things are a bit convoluted. You know, was there provocation? Where there was the paperwork. Y'all, this paperwork, the devil's in the details. The paperwork is going to help certain parties in this instance. That's what I already can see and I already know. But what happens is they sit back, they wait, they let these people go on with their lives for years and years and years. These people go and have more kids and all this. And then one day we finally we get to hear about the indictment process that's always been underway. My theory is that if we don't see that happen very, very soon, I'll be coming back to y'all a year or 2 from now. And I'm going to pin this video. I'm going to pin this. Naja, make a note to pin this video should we see, which I think we will see in this case. But evidence is being gathered at this point. The CPD, nobody's obligated to give it to us. We're the public. We're the general public. Even those of us that are journalists and privy to this information so that we can give it to you. There's certain things that are just not safe for them to give us. And I understand and I respect that process. But I do think that we are all going to be coming back with some breaking news. And we're going to see some sort of charges. I think we are going to see a trial based on trend and probability and me studying these other cases, because this case has blown my mind in such a way and gotten me interested in this is not the first instance, and y'all know this ain't the last, but it's gotten me interested, and I'm looking at the trend of the other cases, and I will be putting these other cases on the channel because, you know, it's opened up Pandora's box in my head now of just studying femicide and how women get to this point. There's thousands of cases with men in the middle. Carlos ain't the first. He's far from the first. He won't be the last. There's some very famous cases. So that's my theory. That's what I think. But I want to know what you all's understanding of the restraining order is. Are we on the same page? We ain't got to be on the same page, but I want to know in the comments, are we on the same page as far as the restraining order of protection process? Even if you didn't know about it, even if the person got it by a judgment by default, it sucks to not know when somebody has paperwork out on your head, but the paperwork's still there. I've been there. I've done that. Driving on a suspended license. I had to just take the L, had to pay the fine. So yeah, I want to see what y'all think in these comments. Does this change your perspective? Are you still saying that girl shouldn't have been over there? She was scared. Let's talk it out. Let's hash it out. Let's see. I'm getting more details every day. I'm presenting more cases, and I'll be sharing them as we go. So thank you all so much for watching this special, very casual. Well, I didn't even put on a clean shirt today. I need to do my hair. Thank you for watching this very casual episode of Naja News, and I look forward to dialoguing in the comments. I post every single week. Right now, it's looking like I'm posting every Wednesday or Thursday. So yeah, make sure you hit that notification bell because that is how we stay in touch. I want you to see these cases that we're doing all this research for. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the comments and on the next video and the previous one and the next one and the next one and the next one.